Okay, my most anticipated horror movie of 2025, Weapons. Maybe the most divisive horror movie of 2025 when you talk about horror fans. I'm going to talk about why that is and why some people might like it and some people might not. So, preview this movie, talked about it on everything about Weapons last video. So if you haven't seen it, please check that out. If you have seen it, this is a full spoiler review, so we ain't hold nothing back. I want to jump into it and really talk about this movie and kind of talk about why I liked it, but I will understand if some people did not and they were a little disappointed, why some people thoroughly enjoyed it. This is your host, Flying It J, Minor League Films there. Please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, check out the other videos we got. But without further ado, let's get into it. So comment down below. Let me know what you will rate the movie and let me know why or why not you may not have liked it. And give example, man. Let me know. So let's jump into it. So Weapons, Zach Kreger, the director from Barbarian, comes back. This is his second movie, I believe, but he said it's bigger, more horror, more weirder, epic, all that. Did we get that? Let's jump into it. So, first of all, I will say I thoroughly enjoyed this movie, and Zach Kreger as a director, I'm starting to feel out his style. Barbarian, people ask me why I like that. And I think even in the comments, we're like, oh, Barbarian might have been mid. Why do you like that? And I think it's just the way he balances certain things. Like Barbarian kind of starts out as romance. You had a little comedy in there, then the horror punch hits, and you're like, oh, like, okay, like he's really doing a lot of things and balancing a lot of things. And I think he does it with this movie. So Julia Garner, as we said, she's in here. I think the acting in this movie is great. I think Julia Garner, Josh Brolin, I think there are two leads here. We really get to spend a lot of time with them. As I said in my preview, it felt like it was going to be a movie. What I heard was it was going to move from different vantage points, and we did get that. Unfortunately for me, I wish they maybe had cut down a little bit. So obviously we got Archer, Josh Brolin's character. We got Justine, which is Julia Garner's character, Officer Paul. We got a little bit of him, but once we got to him and Anthony, the other guy who basically his whole epilogue is, or I don't even know if I'm using the right word, but his whole part is straight comedy. I think that might have lightened up the movie a little bit much, but I felt like for the background and starting to get into the mystery, I felt like maybe those parts could have cut down because stuff in the end I felt like wasn't fleshed out enough just for me. Now they don't have to explain everything, and I don't believe directors need to go there. I think your audience is smart enough to kind of get things going on, but I felt like at the end it was a little abrupt. I feel like if you're going to use that time, you could have cut down on Anthony's part, which was basically a comedy show, and you could have added a little more to that end. But again, we did get the vantage point. I think the first part of this movie is kind of what I would expect. It really gets you in. I feel like the tone in the first part, maybe like the first 45 minutes, we're getting to these different vantage points, is really good. I think Zach Kreger's style is kind of to lure your audience in, especially in a horror style movie, and make you comfortable because we get in the theater and you're laughing, and you're having a good time, and you're like, man, I'm kind of waiting for this horror to set in. You have certain scenes where it's a little tense. I mean, I think saying of the dream sequences and what people see was a good horror punch. I think kind of what I want to say, kind of these fake horror parts where you think something horrifying is going to happen and it doesn't. I think that is really good early in this movie, and it kind of sets the tone of like getting your audience comfortable and just waiting. Now I think the problem is you don't quite get that. If you're going to go comedic, you don't quite get that horror punch later that people want, and I think that's where the divisiveness is. But let me talk about the elements. So acting is good. We know that. I think everybody in this movie does just fine. As far as the comedy of this movie goes, I feel like it's good. It's funny. And I think about this movie like I think about Nope. I think through this movie, before you get kind of to the end, it's like it's really enjoyable. It's really fun. You have a lot of good time, but you're just waiting for the big moment to come, and that big moment kind of underwhelms you, and then you kind of forget the time we had. So I do want to point out how in this movie, basically the first hour 45, I think everyone's thoroughly invested in and just kind of waiting to what's going to happen with these kids because we all know kids go missing. They're tracking them down, and I think that mystery part is kind of fun. Even a cameo from Justin Long in here, who was in Barbarian. I mean, he shows up, but I think the first part of this movie just like doesn't have that ending payoff that people quite want. Now, for me, just strictly for my review, I think the comedy is really good. I think it's funny. I think it's entertaining. The horror parts, I never really felt scared, but I thought they set good atmosphere in moments. Now, some now we do have some terrible neighbors in here, because if you just got the house next to you all bandaged up in paper, you're like, well, those people were perfectly normal a week ago, and now I haven't seen them. I just see their kid leaving the house and coming back. I haven't seen them. I see this lady I don't know leaving inside or outside the house, and now I can no longer see in the house. You might want to, at least call the police and say, hey, y'all might want to go check on them because things are getting weird over there. But no, there's some really good scenes here, and when I talk about horror that are good setups, that car scene with Julia Garner where she's waiting outside the car and she kind of falls asleep and the person like walks out kind of weirdly, and it's kind of like funny. You're like, they're just bouncing around. Like, why are they doing that? And then you realize she left the back door open, and you hear that the whole audience gasps. It's like, oh, because like what's about to happen? Like, I think Zach Kreger in his style like knows how to set up and even in scene get different emotions from me, because we all felt like, well, it's our main character. She ain't gonna die, but he might scare the shit out of her. He might scare the shit out of the audience with this. Maybe she opens up the mirror. She wakes up a little bit, opens up the mirror, sees somebody behind her. Like a lot of things you can do there. So I do really like his style. The comedy works for me in a lot of parts. And I'll say Anthony, really funny. A lot of laughs out the audience. Now I think his thing may have gone on a little too long, but the banter between him and Paul is almost feels like a different movie of like it's a comedy show of just a cop and a guy that can't get right, and they're just bumbling back and forth. I think this movie, while thoroughly entertaining, I just wish I got a little more on the side, because when kind of our protagonist, or no, our antagonist gets in, which I forget that actress's name, but when she gets in there, it's kind of just too obvious like what's going on, and I think that's a part of the movie too. It's very predictable. It's not like once the mystery hits, we want to know where the kids are. We kind of have a guess. I mean, once you see the paper around the house, you kind of know. I mean, the kids are probably in there, so they're able to track them down like pretty decently. Not too much time. So once the protagonist comes in, I felt like that would have been a good moment for a red herring. I feel like once you walked in and then she was like really weird, you just knew like, okay, this is the villain. We kind of know what's going on here. So I just felt like that was a little too obvious. I feel like this, when you go with the witchcraft proof, like you don't have to over explain it, but the kind of like, I guess they kind of give a why she's there, but they don't really give her like why she's doing what she's doing. And yeah, we can assume stuff, we can write stuff, obviously. Maybe the life force of the kids will bring her back and she'll feel a lot better in what she's doing, but you just don't. I feel like that explanation can be short and still be added into the movie of like, well, why is she doing this? Or, why is nobody noticing? Where did this lady come from? Like, I don't need an entire backstory, but I feel like a little could have helped. Maybe that's just me. But I mean, once she comes in, it feels like it gets pretty obvious, where this is going and what direction. Now, I did talk about the Vantage stories, and I think they were maybe a little much for some of the more minor characters. But let's go. Alex, the kid in this movie, I think that his part is really good. I feel like his Vantage story you could have took some out of Paul's out, you could have took some of Anthony's out and had his go in there, maybe added a little more horror elements later. But I feel like his is pretty horrifying. Like as a kid, just come home, your parents are now weird, you got this lady you don't know in your house. I feel like that part was like, ugh, like this is not a situation you want to be in. It's now it's like, oh, you can see that your parents can kill themselves right in front of your face in whichever direction I want them to, and you need to do what I say. So I feel like that was one of the better vantage points, and I feel like that should really go above what Paul's character and Anthony's character were doing in this movie. Honestly, overall, like if I was to give my rating for this, and I'm not done talking about it, but I mean, I think this is a price of admission movie with all these parts, and I'm gonna tell you what I would like more added on. But I think you're kind of getting the way they set this up. You're interested to go in and see what's happening. They deliver on that. Now, as far as jump scares go, I mean, jump scares don't really bother me, or I see them coming now, so it's kind of hard. I mean, there's a couple that get me that I don't see coming, but they got to be really good. But for the average audience, like there was a couple they could have ratcheted up a little more, but I feel like for the gore, the horror, the comedy, this kind of mix in a movie, the mystery of what's kind of going on, actually discover it. Like I feel like the movie delivers on what it sold. Now, for more horror fan, and that's just for average audience. Now, for more horror fans, I feel you, as in I feel like this is missing a little bit of a horror punch. Like Nope was missing that ending just to sum up like everything that was going on and just kind of like a big scene because it kind of felt like that's it. For this movie to end on such a comedy note, because like you're in the house and there, I feel like there was a lot they could have done in that house. Especially Anthony, breaks in. They do a couple things with him, where like people just standing there. It's like, oh, and he goes in the basement. Like I feel like it could have went crazy in that house even before they go back. So I'll say I think they could have done a little more with that, but I feel like the movie delivers. So price of admission will be my rating. Not high price of admission. I wouldn't say like, hey man, like break your necks, go out and see it. But I say I had a really good time watching this movie. I feel you, if you say you had a good time, you like Zach Kreger just going crazy. Because the end of the movie is crazy. Like kids running around, tearing somebody apart in the front yard is crazy. So it's like and the stuff they do. And it's kind of cool seeing Alex kind of figure it out. Just you got all these adults, and it's like this kid is like, all right, I'm fed up with this. Like, oh, that actor, I don't know his name, but he was really good in this. So I feel like with all those mixes in there, it is a price of admission movie. Now, I will say this movie is missing that quality horror budget, and I'll relate to a movie like The Conjuring. I mean, people see trailers. I mean, I've been in trailers twice for The Conjuring. People are like, "There's no way I would go in and watch that," because the Conjuring goes crazy. Like there's at least in every movie 15 minutes. Like they kind of do little bits in there, and then by the end, it's like 15 minutes of straight horror sequences where it's just crazy. It's bad shit. It's happening to this character. It's happening to this character. They split them apart. They deal with their own stuff. Um, I feel like this movie could have used that. I feel like this movie could have used 10 because we were promised like bigger, better, crazy. And while this ending is crazy, it's not necessarily crazy in a horrifying way. I feel like there's a scene where Benedict Wong where he kills his husband in the movie, like where it's like, all right, that's a little graphic and gets ran over, and it's like, okay, that's a little graphic. But I think for a big crazy ending, especially in a dark house, you got kids running around you could do anything with. I mean, we got our protagonist. I was confused antagonist earlier. But we got our protagonist early, and I feel like them walking around the house, there's just so much you can do, especially Alex, like him being there at night and kind of maybe exploring what this lady is doing. There's so many scenes to kind of just scare the shit out of him. So I felt like that could have been fun and explored more. But yeah, I think it could have used a little bit more of a horror punch. But again, it's a price of admission movie for me. Definitely a lot of funny scenes. The gas station scene is very funny and some good action. I wish they did a little more with the cops. I feel like we're in the cops' lives more and less in their investigation. We really do it through Julia Garner's character and Josh Brolin's character. I wish I could have seen more of them exploring dark houses or the witch kind of messing with the cops and somehow helping them. That would have been extra. Like, cops, what are y'all doing? Like, this is not hard to figure out. I feel like the witch throwing the trail off for them would have been something we could have explored and maybe add a little context to the movie. But Zach Kreger, I'm a big fan of him. I think he's got it. I think he could just, you know, add a little more. I think Barbarian did a little better with mixing this stuff. And I would say Barbarian, I probably may put that a little bit above this, but I kind of walk out with the same feeling. Just maybe I really like that movie. This one, I think it needed a little more horror punch, but that's what I think about it. But let me know what you think about it. Spoiler, I definitely wanted to talk about this because I anticipated it and I really wanted to talk about it and go see it. And I think I had a good time. Oh no, I had a good time in the theater. I hope you did as well. And I hope you paid off. We are going to talk about horror movies this year. I feel like they have been very disappointing. Weapons, I believe, delivered, but there is a lot that have not. And even some people are left. But let me know. What do you think? Do you think this movie could have used more of a horror punch, or do you think you enjoyed it? You got everything you need out of it? Let me know down in the comments. It's your boy Flying J. Minor League Films. We're pretty much everywhere. TikTok is Kuronocomics, but Instagram's Minor League Films. Here, MLFHQ. So go ahead and hit that like button, hit that sub button, all that good stuff. But yeah, we'll be back to talk about horror movies in general. But let me know what you thought of Weapons, man. Please hit that comments. And thank you to all the new subscribers. Our Weapons videos have done really well. So when Scotty finally gets a minute to see this, we'll talk about it a little more. I would love to get another opinion, but I want to hear your opinion. So make sure you do that. We also have polls as well. Yeah, it's your boy Flying J, man. Like, sub, all that good stuff. Hope you enjoy the movie. Talk more movies soon, and I will catch you next time.